Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch, once again sponsored by Bertano. I am Dave Young, your host, and again I'm joined by Andrew Mount and Matty Sutcliffe. Now, just to get some housekeeping out of the way, if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you'd like to do so, please click the subscribe button, drop a like on the video if you like the video, and drop a comment below of what your best bet might be for this weekend. With our sponsors, Bertano, as well, I'm going to mention their new customer sign-up offer from last week, which is still going there. There's a link in the description to find out all the details about that. But essentially, if you bet somewhere between £10 and £40, once that bet's been settled, you will get the same amount back as free bets into your Bertano account. Now, we've got 7 races to go through. We're back at Haydock for a few of those. We'll talk about the racing from last week. The lads bookended the domestic ITV Racing with winners. Matty kicked off the show with Great Chieftain, who won the race at 11-4. Then in the Group 2 Temple Stakes, Andrew suggested Maghera alongside American Affair. Maghera drifted out to 10-1 to win that race. And then Andrew pointed out some cracking opportunities over at the Curragh last weekend. In the 305, he suggested a few British horses to perm up. That resulted in a €200 forecast to a £1 level stake. Of course, permanent up, it would have been sort of 6 or 12 bets in there. And he was also very bullish on the chance of Skakusa under Ryan Moore for Ed Walker. He bolted up at 9-2 in the 415. So pretty good results there. And while we're on the topic of Ireland, lads, I just want to ask you something about that happened this week. Philip Burns on a horse at Wexford. The horse in question was Redwood Queen. He looked to have the race at his mercy at the last when a very soft unseat in there. Lots of market drifting, even on the exchanges. His Betfair SP was miles above the industry SP. His place part of that as well was huge. Looked to me like he had a glance up at the screen as well. I thought it was very soft. So I know it's not ITV Racing, Matty, but what did you make of Philip Burns' ride at Wexford this week?
Well, yeah, it was very soft. The optics obviously don't look very good when you've got the 1-3 favourite well backed, about to get beat. He's a big drifter. I mean, I've never sat on a horse, and I don't know what it's like to follow a horse at 20-30 miles per hour, but I can't imagine it feels very nice. But it kind of steadied the horse into the hurdle, and it was slowing down, and he just almost, I mean, there was nothing in the horse's action that suggested that he had reason to fall off. Like, he kind of kicks his legs out of the stirrups before the hurdle and almost just did a soft crash landing. So, look, the optics are very good. I think you probably shouldn't say much more on the matter either. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what all comes out. But yeah, not when there's history as well with the yard attached to it. It's not a very good look for the sport. And I suppose you don't need £3.5 million to promote that, do you?
No, definitely not. And I think the Wexford stewards after said there was no further action there. So while Matty doesn't want to say any more on it, Andrew, I'm going to push you for a comment too, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
like I said,
sure.
I think the market movement is what makes it worse, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Oh. Sorry, I became unbalanced and unseated there, and it's easily done. You see. So
your envelopes in the check.
Yeah, the market drift didn't help, did it? I've heard various commentators talk about, the horse jumped out of his hands and the horse's backside came up and hit him in the arse and sort of knocked him sideways, and maybe it did, maybe it didn't. It's very hard to prove one way or another. Although, do you remember the Sean Fox incident at Fontwell many years ago when in between just before he unseated stroke jumped off, Mr. Fox was looking down on the floor as though he'd been promised a grass-covered mattress, and that he was jumping on. He was like looking for the landing spot, and then he jumped off shortly afterwards on a big drifter. And the jockey's relative inexperience was put down as an excuse, but I looked at his rides. He's had 702 rides in total. Philip Burns. He's unseated 16 times. I did look at the market moves on those, and 15 of the 16 drifted. But having started going back and looking at them, there was nothing suspicious about the other unseats, as far as I could tell, and most of them were sort of well beaten at the time he unseated. But yeah, it doesn't look good, does it? And it doesn't make you want to bet on low-grade Irish racing with confidence. And I think that, and again, whether if the horse was laid on the exchanges, that can easily be dug out. But I think there are other ways of profiting from it if that was the case, and just backing the favourite, basically lumping on the favourite at 2-1 on, backed into 3-1 or whatever would probably be the way, and then that wouldn't be quite so obvious. But it's yeah, not a good look for Irish racing.
No, and like you say, it is low level stuff. It was a claiming hurdle when it worth like €6,000 to the winner. I can't imagine it takes tons of money to be moving markets there. I've not looked at what the total figures were on there. But that's the problem we have, I suppose, when we do these previews on the Thursday. We don't have the benefit of what's happening in the market. But a race like that, I feel sorry people that got stuck in early. But if you see that the horse is drifting and one's going the other way around, I mean, even the winner, he was about like £11. I think he was given the second favourite, or the one that's unseated. And he was ridden by a £7 claimer. So he was probably like £11 well in. So I don't know, conceivably the market could have been wrong. But yeah, it didn't look very good for the sport. But what is a good look for the sport is the ITV action. Fingers crossed. We got
excellent segue, Dave. Excellent
cover. We got 7 races to go out. 4 from Haydock again. We had Haydock last week. A couple from York, and then one at Chester thrown in. That's the second race on the programme. But look, let's crack on. The first race we look at is the 148 at Haydock. It's a handicap over 6 furlongs, and any race with Summergand on the honours roll is all right by me. We've seen Eve Johnson Horton and Giles Bishop take this twice in the last 4 years with 18-1 shots. They've got no runners. And David Amir has won this twice in the last few years with the aforementioned Summergand and Cold Stare. That was in 2018 and 2019 respectively. He does have a runner in here, Powell's Battalion under Daniel Tudhope. Michael Dodds has 4 of the 17 runners that are in it. Quickly run through the prices. We've got Fine Interview in at 4-1. We've got Durham Castle in at 9-2. Trilby's at 7-1. Sergeant Wilko's 8-1. Tinto is 9-1. It's 11-1 and bigger. The rest with our sponsors, Botano. Matty, 17 runner, 6 furlong handicap at Haydock when there's been a little bit of rain. This is a bit of you, right?
It is, yeah. It would have been a bit of me if the Bradley team declared Sophia's Starlight as well. I was very shocked not to see her declare. I think with definite soft on the going, it's a bit of a kick in teeth, really. There is 2 in here that I've substituted in there. One of them I'll get to in a minute, and the other is Durham Castle. Really unexposed in here, behind Jarrah on debut. Had his win done, was gelded in the interim. Made a solid enough reappearance at Yarmouth last May when 3 lengths behind Donny Lake, who was kind of frankly form since. Then it was impressive at Southwell, made all to win there. And then what got me was the effort at Goodwood. And sometimes when a horse makes all, I don't want to see them repeat it next time out. I'd rather see them kind of drop in and take cover and show the art of one-trick pony. And that's essentially what I did at Goodwood next time out. Beat Riverham and Who's by 4 lengths. One readily was eased down. That one's won twice since. And then he had a Ramran in third as well. A Ramran's won, I think, 3 times since now. He's £14 higher. So the form's worked out well. Obviously, he's got layoff to contend with. Doesn't seem, perhaps not the most hardy horse, having his win done quite early on in his career. He's got tongue ties, all the gelded on after his second start. But I'll take a chance on the unexposed son of Haranica in Durham Castle. And the other one is my old mate. I think it's your old mate, and probably Andrew's old mate, King's Lynn. Now, this is Last Chance Saloon.
Don't do it, Matty. Don't do it.
No, this is Last Chance Saloon. This is kind of, if he's not going to win here territory, where is he going to win? He's not been disgraced on the all-weather this season. Beaten 4 lengths by Marshman off a break. Finished second in this class to a Badger, beating 2 lengths, then beat a length at Kempton. Didn't stay the 7 last time out, so he's not had a horrible time of things over the winter. And he's only got to go back. His last turf start was £6 higher. Wasn't disgraced at York and beat the 5 length in the in a big race in October. He was beaten 6 lengths in the Air Gold Cup as well behind Lethal Levi. And then he went to go 4 turf runs back to his second 2 length 4th at Goodwood behind Kirat. That one's obviously front the form since. It's his first Class 3 on turf. He's 2 from 2 at the course. He won the Achilles Stakes here 2021 now, and I know it's a concern that it's not won since 2022. But off this mark, I think was he 87. You just think if not now, when? So I'll take Durham Castle then a chance Kingsland each way.
I like that. We've got 5 places up for grabs, a fifth of the odds with Botano. So Kings Lynn is in at 11-1. And then the Simon Ed Crisford Rabba Racing horse, Durham Castle, is 9-2. Andrew, how did you see this one?
Yeah, tricky one. Difficult to know what to do about the ground as well, because you see the word soft in the Haydock Go description, you get excited for the mudlarks, but it's good to soft good in places. And we got sort of 48 hours of plus of drying weather between recording time and off time, with plenty of wind as well. So it could be fairly quick. Because I think I've got about 1 mil of rain maximum over the next 48 hours. So whether it will be soft enough for Trilby is the big question for me, because he's a horse I like particularly when there's cut in the ground, and he likes Haydock as well. He's had 5 runs here, 3 wins, a second, and a close-up 6 with excuses. And given his love for this track, he's got to be the first port of call, I think. And he ran a good race behind American Affair in a hot race at York last time, finishing 7th of 17 overall, doing 3rd best of his group. And the other one I like is Sergeant Wilko. I really think he's going to win a big sprint handicap this year, maybe a sort of Wokingham or a Stewards Cup possibly. Now, first time back, he was well supported at Leicester, but he had the stands rail draw, which is where you don't want to be at Leicester for the majority of the time. You look at that race, the winner and second came from stalls 2 and 3. He did too much too soon on the rail. He got hampered later on, but he was beat. That wasn't important. That was his first run since gelding. And then he showed much more last time. I put him up as a bet at Newcastle. I thought he'd bomb out or win, and he ended up finishing 4th, so I should have gone each way. 14-1 behind all-weather expert Ferris, a very progressive performer on synthetics from the Jack Shannon yard. And the cheap pieces go on for the first time, so I thought he could go well if stall 6 is no inconvenience. So we've not touched on the draw. It's been tricky at Haydock to find out where the best part of the track is. We have a few meetings where you want to be one side or the other. The Sergeant Wilko from stall 6, Trilby from stall 10 were the ones that I was looking at. Unfortunately, there isn't another sprint before this one, so we don't get any draw clues before this race.
Yep, fair enough. So Trilby at the time of recording is 7-1. Again, it's 5th of the odds, 5 places in this handicap with Batano and Sergeant Wilko. Top weight, 8-1. Again, 5th of the odds, 5 places. We'll move on now to the 2:10 at Chester, the second race on the ITV schedule. Handicap over 7 furlongs. We've got another Simon Ed Crisford Rabbit Racing horse who's prominent in the betting here in Telemark, 11-2, second favourite, but it's new recruit for Andrew Balding, Never So Brave, who heads the market at 11-4, price correct at the time of recording. He's been gelded since leaving Sir Michael Stout. He's ridden by Jason Watson. I feel like there's lots to like about this horse, especially considering the stable move. Other horses in here worth mentioning, I think. Bobby Banu, Midland Park have got a couple of chances in the first. They've got another chance here, 11-2 for Bobby Banu. Fair Point is 17-2. My Hour is 17-2. And then it is 10-1 or bigger, the rest of those. So, Andrew, how simple is the 2:10 at Chester to solve?
Not simple, really. The first thing you look at is the going, good to soft. I don't think a significant rain forecast, so we're probably looking at sort of good ground by post time. I started off looking at the horses from sort of stall 1, and then looking at those likely to be up with the pace. And I couldn't find a front runner for a while. I mean, Ross Colin has made the running in the past, coming out of stall 5, but he's been held up in his recent starts. And given his love for Goodwood, you expect all roads lead to the Sussex venue as regards his season, and he was well beaten in this race last year. That was behind Spirit Genie. Now you said Carulian Bay, Witch Hunter, Bruin, Telemark, all hold up horses, so I wasn't totally keen on Telemark. And that brings us to stall 6, Never So Brave, first run for Andrew Balding after leaving Sir Michael Stout's care. This one was due to run at the Chester main meeting, and if you looked at how that one was priced up, it was very short in the market, even though he was drawn in stall 15. And because when the BDCs came in the morning, the bad draw certificates, he had one of those. And so don't worry about that supposed setback, not eaten up or trod on a grape or whatever it was. Last time out, he was obviously withdrawn because they deemed it to be a bad draw. He won here for Stout. He also ran poorly on one occasion, but he blew the start and got completely mullered, so I'd ignore that. So I expect him to improve. We've seen horses who leave Stout's care win 3 of their 17 starts at the first time of asking for new trainers this year, a profit of £11.50. Last year it was 3 from 10 plus £8.48. Go back to 2022, it was 3 from 23 plus 33.50. So plenty of improved for new surroundings. The fact that they didn't run this one for a bad draw suggests that he's going to be ready to go at the first time of asking. and I think he's going to take the beating. The other ones on my short list both fared poorly on the draw front. Yennefer, who was third in this race last year, doing best of the closers, has got stalled 10. The hood goes on for the first time. This one was a massive kipper on its. I actually thought he'd run well on his reappearance here at the May meeting, but he wasn't off. I mean, he wasn't fit, obviously, and finished 7th to 14 behind 210, only beaten 6 lengths after drifting from sort of 6-7 to 1 out to 14 to 1, never nearer, inverted commas. And Mael, of course, who has also fared poorly on the draw front, coming up stall 11. Ran an absolute blinder in the spring mile, finishing third, getting there getting to the front too soon into the headwind. Made it something like 5 from 5 and 7 furlong handicaps when winning at Haydock next time, and then last time went to the Victoria Cup and was turned out to be drawn on the wrong part of the track, and did pretty well of those to race down the stand side, beating 5 and a bit lengths, went 8th of 17 behind Hickory. So yeah, Mile, it's a shame he's not drawn in the first sort of 4 or 5 from the inside, because he'd had a great chance. So yeah, reluctantly passing over Mile and Yennefer in favour of the Andrew Baldwin run and Never So Brave.
Beautifully put, Andrew. And you're right as well. Like when you have horses that have a non-runner certificate in there, especially now we know the stats with the first run since Sir Michael Stout, the trainers must have that in their mind as well. They don't want to waste that first start out there. Looks the case with Never So Brave in here, who is the 11-4 favourite at the time of recording. Matty, there are quite a few runners in here. 4 places up for grabs with Batano, a fifth of the odds, the terms on that. Are you looking to take the favourite on?
Yeah, very tentatively. It is a tricky contest to weigh up. I just want it to be slightly against the favourite. I just want that Welcome entry I'm slightly curious about. I wonder whether just kind of, we saw it with More Thunder, who dropped back from about 10 furlongs to be a smart sprinter for William Haggis. He came out of the Stout Yard, I think, as well. I wonder whether they're just going to send this one for a float, perhaps, and then, sorry, inverted commas won't be fit. And then drop back for a Wokingham. But yeah, he's been a beaten favourite the last 3 times as well. Whether that's just because Stout has come to the end of his term, I'm not too sure. But just want to be slightly against him on that basis. Same with Telemark too. Telemark's a horse that I quite like, but I think he needs it really deep to be seen at best effect. I mean, they say it was good as soft at Thursday. I think it was borderline soft when he beat a relatively weak enough field that day. But so I want to be against the top 2 in the market. And I don't know what it is about the second meeting at Chester, especially when they've had a bit of rainfall. I always seem to think that wide draws are a massive hindrance, and Andrew probably know better than me with the stats to back that up. Because you do kind of sometimes see them come to the far side, or even maybe the centre. And that's why I thought that maybe the draw in 12 for Holguin wasn't too much of a bad draw. I mean, I think he's just thrown off a mark of 98. Used to be with Andrew Baldwin. Has some excellent form. He was second in the listed company at Haydock, second at Epsom listed company, 6th in the Jersey at Ascot. Then he won a listed company here over course distance in July 2023, before being beaten in 4 lengths by Kinross. He was second to Angel Blue at Goodwood over a mile. He's got some excellent form, some back class from a couple of seasons ago. I mean, he's won. He got sent to New Connections, and to be fair, he was only beaten 4 lengths behind Dark Trooper in the 3 starters ago in November. And Dark Trooper was a solid 105 rated handicapper on these shows. He's been gelded since we've last seen him. The trainer's 3 from 5 of late. I'm not going to pretend like I know a whole lot about the jockey. I did go back and watch his ride on solo and claim from Haydock last season, and I thought he gave it a great ride. So I just wonder whether, he's still 12, okay, but he was rated 111 at his peak for Andrew Baldwin. So if I mark him 98, if he's ready to go back on these shores, I think Holguin going to be a decent enough price.
Yeah, fair enough. 16 to 1 at the time of recording. Like I say, it's a quarter of the odds. Sorry, a fifth of the odds for first 4 places of the each way terms on this race. And as you say, that wide draw, who knows, he might even drift out a little bit. But 16 to 1 is the time at recording, and Andrew's selection was Never So Brave at 11 to 4. Right, back to Haydock for a listed race, the Achilles Stakes, over 5 furlongs. won by Believing last season. She finally won a Group 1, didn't she? After going to Tabor, Magnier and Smith, won over in Maidan. Regional took the race the year before, won a Group 1 the same season. Even Racel, that took the race the year before in 2022, went on to win a Group 3 and then was only just beaten in a Group 2. So it's a listed race in name. Maybe a lot of these horses will be using this as a prep and a stepping stone to bigger targets down the line. But we've got multiple group winners in here. It's probably a far better race than the status has given it. No Half Measures does head the market at the time of recording. It's a 9-4 favourite. Jasor is in at 100-30. We have the 3-year-old Liavani at 9-2. Then we've got 7 Questions and Democracy's Dilemma, the next 2 in for Robert Cow, 8-1 and 10-1 respectively. Just touching on Liavani as the only 3-year-old in the race. I think Excelet's the last winning 3-year-old back in 2021. Only 7 have tried since then though. And if you were to back all 3-year-old blinds at 12-1 or short of this century, you'd be showing a 55% return on investment to SP alone. So there's some stats thrown in there. But Matty, can you just tell the viewers who wins this, please?
Yeah, again, it's a tricky one. I mean, a lot of them, well, Jasser, he was second to win the show, wasn't he, last season? But you just wonder whether he might need the run. He's quite a free-going sort. Probably has had a wind surgery now. No Half Measures has to bounce back from his reappearing, and so does 7 Questions and Democracy Dilemma. As was Raging Bambi, who stopped quite quickly at York. I think there might be something wrong with her feet. It's a tricky one to weigh up. And I came down on the side of Shagraan, who I think Andrew mentioned it last week. And there's not a lot of difference between these kind of high-end handicap sprinters and the listed / Group 3 types. And I just wonder whether Shagraan might be able to make up into a horse of this calibre. 2 of the last 3 winners of this race, Regional and Racel, both contested the York Sprint Handicap prior to landing this. Shagraan contested the same one as Regional, and I thought it was a bit unlucky. I mean, he was second home in his near-side group, with the winner American Affair doing the best. But American Affair switched to the centre that day quite early on, and he was thrown off his mark anyways. But Shagraan stayed down the near side in the London handicap. Wasn't seen to best effect there, of course, in Ria Riva. I just thought we could upgrade that quite a bit. Maybe if he'd have followed American Affair, he might have got a bit closer. Giving him £3 as well. It was a particularly great ride. The winner, American Affair, wasn't given a great ride in the Temple Stakes last week, I didn't think. Pulled quite hard. It just kind of stops you with him. He would have been given his head quite early on. He might have got a bit further, but I do think it was still a bit of a form boost for the race, which does bode well for Shagraan back in here, and what's probably looked a bit of an easy contest. He's 1 from 1 over course and distance. He actually beat American Affair, giving him £6 last season. So I'd just lean on the side of Shagraan, the fact that if he steps on from that race last time out, could be the ace in the sprinting pack.
Yeah, fair case made for Shagraan there, who's available at 12-1 at the time of recording, was 10-1, taking a small walk out there, but I'm sure that price could come back in. As I touched on, Andrew, there's lots of good horses that have won this in the past, but maybe this is the time of year when something at a bit of a price could catch them out.
Yeah, this is a tricky one, as you say, because at least we'll have some clues about the draw. If there is a stand-side bias thrown up in that 17-runner sprint handicap earlier, then No Half Measures could be poorly drawn in stall 1. She disappointed at Newmarket on the comeback, but it dried out too much for a buy there. And I took a chance and better, but it was officially, I think, good to firm in places. And post-race, Ryan Moore sort of, said that the ground was basically too quick for her. She was a big eye catcher in the Prix de l'Abbé on the final start last year, finishing 5th from a shocking draw. I think she's set for a good season, but it's just a case of, if it was like, good to soft, good in places, that's the going as she lines up, absolutely fine. But with 2 drying days to come, that could be too quick for her, and stall 1 could inconvenience her. Jasor is hard to assess. I thought he was going to run the Temple Stakes last week when the fast ground was going to be in his favour, and but now they didn't run it. I mean, they've waited for this. He's at his first run since a wind-up. He's down to listed level. He hasn't contested anything below group company for some time. So I'm just thinking this might be a need the run getting ready for Royal Ascot, where because he ran so well behind in the Sharon in the Commonwealth Cup last year. So I'm thinking he'll improve for it. potentially. And then there was two I was looking at after that. One of them is Balmoral Lady, again ground dependent. This one's record on officially good or softer going is second, first, second, third, 4 from 7. So that would be a fair each way play, particularly from stall 8 if the earlier race suggests that you want to be on that stand side rail. But like Matty, I'm coming down on the side of Shagraan. He's by Sioux Nation. A sire has got an incredible record with runners in smallish fields, 10 or fewer runners. You make a good profit backing them blind. Over 5 furlongs to 7 furlongs in small fields. It's 110 winners from 541 bets, 20% strike rate, and a profit of over 130 quid. Now, he was a big eye catcher in the race JM Jungle won at York last year, because I think he placed in that as a 3-year-old, which is very hard to do. I think he's set for a good season. Stall 2 is the unknown, but back in the small field, he had a small field on his comeback at Goodwood, but I don't think he was fully wound up, and he finished third that day. Probably wasn't the best part of the track towards the stand side either. So yeah, I'm expecting good things from Shagraan this season. So even though I'm not sure whether Stall 2 is a good draw or not, I'll take a chance with him.
Lovely. Would it just be Shagraan as a selection, or do you want Balmoral Lady as well?
I'll go for the forecast. Why not?
Absolutely. Well, you've been forecasting up the last couple of weeks. I want to make sure we give the viewers another one this week. Prices at the time of recording: Shagraan is still 12 to 1, as I already mentioned. Balmoral Lady is 14 to 1 in the Achilles Stakes. Right, we're going to York for the first of their 2 races. It's a 5 furlong handicap, headed by the aforementioned JM Jungle by Andrew Mount. He's at 19 to 5. Weird price. I want to say, what is that, 4 to 1? I'm making my head hurt for the maths. We'll say it's 4 to 1, 19 to 5. Duran, only one of them running this time, is 5 to 1 in second favouritism. Loom is next in at 11 to 2. It's 10 to 1 or bigger, the rest of those. Each way terms in this one, Andrew, are a fifth of the odds, 4 places. Quite a few of them are big prices. Which was the one that you were drawn to in here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously JM Jungle you're drawn to because of his good record at York. He was second here to American Affair last time, second to the same horse at Musselburgh on his comeback. He was placed in the Symphony Group handicap at the Ebor meeting as a 3-year-old, and that's a graveyard for 3-year-olds, that race. And you can make good money by just looking for 3-year-olds that do well and backing them, over the course of the next sort of season or two. But there's a bit of a sort of anomaly with this race in that, unlike most York sprints, it does seem to favour horses who come from off the pace. And I think 8 of the last 10 winners of this have been ridden patiently. We've got a real mixed bag as regards age. Horses aged between 3 and 10. You get progressive 3-year-olds who end up being group performers like Starlust, and you've had Duke of Firenze winning it as a 10-year-old. So it's sort of hard to narrow the field on the age grounds. Draw-wise, again, probably middle to low on sort of recent York evidence, but that can change depending on the ground. But the one I was looking at in particular was Duran for informed Nigel Tinkler. Now, I was a bit annoyed that he won last time, because I'd got him earmarked for one to back as soon as he goes to York, because he's got a great record here. And I was surprised they didn't run him at the Dante meeting. They elected to go to Haydock instead. I should have taken the hint, because it was another flat track, York-like, and he's gone and won. So came from the rear that day in the small field, and I think from stall 6 he's got a great chance. Loom is obviously interesting, having sort of run well from off the pace here last time out. And the other one I was looking at a big price was Spirit of Applause, coming out of stall 9, 25 to 1 or thereabouts, I think, for Tim Easterby. And this one was a sort of decent third from off the pace at Newmarket last time out. It's a tricky ride that has to be presented right on the line. So don't. And Sean Carana normally rides and has been replaced by Andrew Mullin, so might not be a jockey change, might not be ideal given his tricky nature. But I'll go Duran for Nigel Tinkler. Love flat track, particularly York.
Lovely. So Duran's in at 5 to 1. The one at the big price you mentioned, has been nibbled from 25s into 22s, has Spirit of Applause. Those prices are correct at the time of recording with Latano. Matty, good looking race. JM Jungle, I'm sure, has broken your heart last time out, didn't he? How are you feeling about that now, and who wins this?
Yeah, I don't want to speak about that, if I'm honest with you, Dave. He's got some good form. He was only beaten 4 lengths on turf last time out. His last turf start was only beaten 4 lengths by Albashir. it's not been a horribly disgrace on the all weather, but that's probably not his surface. And you only got to look 5 starts back to see us beating 3 lengths in the Beverley Bullet. So off a mark of 84, for a new yard, he's got little bits of pieces, of course, on former listed placed as a 2-year-old. What looks a relatively weak enough race. I'll chance Bond Chairman each way at that price.
Bond Chairman, quite a way down the list, I've got to go, is 22 to 1. Another one that's been nibbled in from 25s. Once again, the each way terms on this are a fifth of the odds, 4 places. Right, we are back at Haydock. Maybe the grounds continue to dry out and we've got it rattling fast by now. It's the 258. It used to be known as the Pinnacle Stakes. It's now the Leicester Piggott Fillies Stakes. Fillies and Mares, Group 3. Lots of good horses in here, to be fair. William Agus has taken 2 of the last 3. He saddles Chorus in here. The Gosdens took it 12 months ago. They run Sahaha under O.C. Murphy, but it's Estrange for David O'Meara and Daniel Tudhope that heads the market at 2 to 1. Sahaha is 5 to 2. Beautiful Love for William Buick, who took a horrible drift last time out behind See the Fire, is a 7 to 2 shot. Chorus, I've already mentioned, is 11 to 1. It's 12 to 1 or bigger the rest. So, Matty, who do you think might take this?
Well, if the ground wasn't drying out, you'd be absolutely all over Estrange. I think I probably still. I really like her. I thought it was brain dead to run her on good firm ground at Yarmouth second time up or on the second start. I mean, she bolted up on soft ground at Goodwood. She's the daughter of Night of Thunder, and you just kind of thought, why on earth are they running on good firm at York? And then she goes and wins next time out at Doncaster. I think she's only going to get better over this trip. I mean, the way she stayed on at Doncaster, she only joined in a furlong out. She's a half sister to El May, who stayed at 1 mile and 6. A dam's a half sister to Logician, who of course won the St Leger. So everything points to a Strange staying this trip. And then if it isn't too quick, I think she'll probably win cosily.
Oh, cosily as well. 2 to 1 top price at the time of recording then could look generous for Estrange. For Matty, Andrew, how did you see this one? Is it that straightforward?
I'm going to go with Estrange in the hope that if they deem it too quick for her, they'll pull her out. So she really caught the eye with that W Goodwood win, and then 14 runners stepping up to listed companies. Second time out at Yarmouth on good to firm ground. She got hampered in the run on more than one occasion, and it was a bit too quick for her. Bounced back to win at Doncaster quite easily, and so I love a Night of Thunder when there's a bit of cut in the ground. Hopefully it remains soft enough for her, but I'm sure David O'Meara won't run her if he thinks the ground's going to be a problem. The other one I thought might be overpriced was Beautiful Love because of the margin of defeat here last time behind the very impressive See the Fire. I think the market's perhaps overreacted to that 12 length second place, but she was a 12 to 1 shot. And I think that form's going to work out well, particularly with the third Royal Dress, who caught the eye on ground that was way too fast for her. So yeah, I'll go Estrange replaced with Beautiful Love if Estrange is non-runner.
Oh, I like it. Replacing one in case we get a non-runner in there. Yeah, Beautiful Love carries that penny, doesn't she? I put her up last time when she ran. She was 7 to 2, I think, out to 12 to 1. She went out to 16s at one point. You know those type of drifters where you're like, they just can't win. So I was.
Did the jockey jump off?
No,
The fall
not
off as well.
But he stayed, but she did stay on really strongly through the line, didn't she? And she's stepping back up to the middle distance, which probably does suit her. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the market moves between now and then. It's 2 to 1 for the Strange for both the lads, and just for the purpose of referencing Beautiful Love, 7 to 2 at the time of recording. Right, we are back at York, the 3:15 over 1 mile 6 furlongs. Again, it's for the fillies and mares, and again, it's a Group 3. It's the Bronte Cup Fillies Stakes. This looks like a pretty good race, to be fair. Terms of Endearment took this 12 months ago while she was still trained by Henry de Bromhead. I think Rachel Blackmore rode her that day. Now having her second start for William Haggas, but she's not the favourite. She's in at 3 to 1. The favourite is Scenic for Ed Walker and Safi Osborne, like a never near a second last time out in a listed race. She's in at 11 to 4. Third favourite is Swino at 7 to 2. We've got Davina Grace in at 5 to 1, and then it's 10 to 1 or bigger, the rest of these. Smaller field than we've been looking at in some of the other races. It's only 2 places up for grabs, a quarter of the odds. But Andrew, where was your eye drawn in this one?
I'm going with Scenic. I bet her at Goodwood last time, and I was watching that race, and they went quite steady up front, and I was just sort of screaming at Safi Osborne to get a little bit closer. As it was, the winner and the runner-up both came from well off the pace, Shahar and Scenic, but Shahar got first run for John and Thady Gosden under Kieran Schumacher. The pair sort of separated by just over one length. But I thought that was like sort of extremely good run. It was only listed races, but yeah, she showed a good turn of foot that day to get as close as she did. And I thought that would hold her in good stead here. So I think Scenic's progressive. Ed Walker remains in good nick, and she can take this from me.
Yep, 11-4 about Scenic at the time of recording, as I've already mentioned. Looks an all right price, I thought, Matty, after that last run. Where was your eye drawn in this one? The same as Andrew?
Yeah, it is a tricky one, as you've obviously got Scenic, Sueno, Alonzi, who all contested that good race, reappearing again. And I think we all know by now with these fillies, they all chop and change, don't they? I mean, Divina Grace beat Scenic last season, Scenic beat Divina Grace last season. So it's a tricky one to work out. I mean, Sueno, she's shaped best of all there, having failed to find an out under Luke Catton. The gap came, and I just wonder whether his inexperience just prevented him from going through the gap quite early on. You'd imagine if Ryan Moore was on board, who's on board now, if he'd have got that gap, would she have won? Possibly so. But I'm going to go against that trio and challenge Jane Temple for the Gosdens. I think this is a really progressive, smart filly, actually. Daughter of Sayuni out of a Giant Causeway mare. She looked quite good at Southern when they're staying on at the back end of November. Then she reappeared this season at 3-year-old earlier this month, and she still looked really raw. One of those fillies, kind of almost bouncing up and down the spot as if they've never actually galloped in their life before. She looked really raw, but once she opened up, she powered through, and it just looked a very impressive performance. She had a massive stride length, which will bode well around York on the flat galloping track. And she's well bred. All of us, I know she's making a turf debut, but all four of her siblings who were run on turf, well, one on turf as well. So that's no issue there. And I think she might just be going underlooked in the market. So I'll chance Jane Temple.
I like that. Jane Temple is 10-1 in there. Technically the second string on the jockey bookings, but at the end of the day, like you say, with that ride on Sueno, they probably would have specifically asked Ryan Moore to jump on board for her this time. I wouldn't necessarily look at it like he had the option between the two, although, I mean, if Ryan Moore wants to ride something, you'd let him ride it, wouldn't you? So good couple of selections in there for the 3:15 at York. Right. On to the lucky last. It is the John O'Gaunt Stakes, Group 3 over 7 furlongs, the 3:33 at Haydock. I don't know what that 2 minutes is trying to save, but we are where we are. The market in this one is pretty good. We've got audience in there at 100 to 30. We've got Alien Arby, a winner last time out, at 7 to 2. We've got Kinross at 5 to 1, who, I mean, it needs to be said, I'm sure you guys will say it as well, tends to need his runs at the start of the season, but hasn't been starting at 7 furlongs. So I don't know, is that like a bit of a red herring in there? Spy Catcher's in at 8 to 1. We've got Room Service at 9 to 1. It's 12 to 1 and bigger, the rest of those. Look, this is a very good looking race. Alien Arby was a course and distance winner last time out, wasn't he? Beating Tiber Flow, who took this race last year. Already touched on the fact of Kinross. Audience is a very highly talented horse, lots of wins at 7 furlongs, but doesn't always throw it in. So I'm glad I'm not previewing this one, Matty. It looks a trappy enough heat, but there's got to be a bet in there somewhere, has there?
There is, and it's an absolutely fantastic. We've saved the best for last, haven't we? The first thing I'll say is Volterra makes his reappearance, and this is a horse I strongly fancy it to make up into a group horse. But off this mark, off a mark of 103, I think he'll have a nice little float around here and be absolutely spot on for the Royal Hunt Cup at Ascot. I've tipped him up in the anti-post piece for GG. So just keep an eye on Volterra. I mean, I really hope he doesn't win because that's blown the mark, isn't it? And he'll be in black tight company. But I think this one will win the Royal Hunt Cup and go on to bigger and better things down the line. So that'll be the first port call. That'll be the one I'll be watching throughout the race. As you mentioned, Ali now he's bounced back to form in the Spring Trophy last time out over course and distance. But just watch the ground for that. I think he needs it rattling quick. It was at York that he was at York last season, or maybe the year before, that he bolted up on quick ground. I mean, you could hear him run past. Like, he needs it absolutely rattling. Last year's Lockinge, I mean, I still cannot believe that Audience won a Lockinge, then goes on to win the Lennox. He returns from defeat in Maidan in Group 1. As you said, if he's all there on the day, he could win this quite well. Stalwart 9 times Group winner Kinross won this in 2021, but as you mentioned, Dave, it just genuinely tends to need the run. But it's reappearing over 7 furlongs. Not done that for a while, has he? Spycatcher never backed up a win before, and I thought he was hugely flattered by his track position Doncaster last time out. Coming from off the pace, I beamed through the race away, and as I said, never backed up a win before, so I think he could I mean, draw a line for a spike out straight away. Room Service, he makes a reappearance as well. Was one of a good listed contest last season, but a lot of Kevin Ryan's needing the run at the moment. He's not had a brilliant start to the season. I think he's 2 from 27 in May as well. So there's plenty of negatives about the top of the market. For all, it's a fantastic race. I just came down the side of Kikkuli, who is still very much unexposed, and I think it was to me 2 lengths behind Al Yanabi Overcost. This was last time out, but he just looked fine. He looked quite big in himself there. I think he needed the run. He is a relatively big son of Kingman, and I think it comes back to his optimum conditions. Or 7 furlong Group 3, he was second to Hartem in the Jersey when last over these conditions. Hartem was rated, I think, £12 higher than that day. I know he was getting £3 as well. It just strikes me the type to improve as a 4-year-old. Wasn't disgraced on debut. Wasn't disgraced at Keelan behind Carl Spackler, who was supposedly the best thing since sliced bread on turf over in America. Got some lovely back form. Ozzy Murphy jumps back on board with Philly Marsh, and so I think at the prices, we've lit a few negatives towards the top of the market. I'll chance Kikkuli.
I like that. Strong case made as well. And like you say, Oshie Murphy taking the ride on Kikkuli, who's 14-1 at the time of recording. Volterra that was mentioned, I haven't got a price on here with Botano for the Royal Hunt Cup. We'll see if we can get that chopped up by the editor, but little Brucey bonus for viewers there. The perk of those ones as well, Matty, is win, lose or draw in it. If he's out the back of the telly, we could say it's a prep run for the Royal Hunt Cup. And if he runs well, we'll say it's a prep run for the Royal Hunt Cup. I like that case made. We'll put a link in the description as well to your article, I'm sure, because you've written up about the case for that horse there. Andrew, this is a phenomenal race. Like Matty says, we probably have saved the best till last. Cases to be made for lots of them, but I think, like Matty said, there's probably cases against them to be made as well. So where did you find yourself in this race?
Yeah, I've got mostly negatives for these. I mean, Audience has never won left-handed. Kinross, although he has won first time out in the past, in the last 3 seasons, he's tended to peak on his 3rd or 4th start. He might need it. Spycatcher is 0 from 9 over 7 furlongs. I mean, Matty's made a great case for Kikkuli, but the fact remains this one's just won a maiden from 8 starts, which always puts me off. Ten Bob Tony needs a small field. Gray's Monument's best in the autumn, probably. The one I was looking at is ground dependent. Really needs it on the slow side. When he's had a pro form going adjustment of -2 or lower, i.e. sort of on the soft side of good or worse, first, second, first. So I was hoping that it was going to be soft enough for Room Service to run a race here. But I wouldn't be confident. I did think of sort of just being boring and tipping the favourite, Ali Nabari, but after that win at over course and distance on his comeback when he made all, it's only a small field that day. He might get taken on for the lead, and Owen Burrows is quoted as saying that Jim Crowley thought he might be worth trying over a stiff 6 and not persevering with 7, which is obviously a bit of a worry if you're backing a 7-2, 3-1 favourite, whatever he is. So yeah, I'll just go sort of small stakes on Room Service and keep an eye on the weather.
I like that. Room Service is 9-1 at the time of the recording, and it is just one of those fascinating races, isn't it? Like you say, with Audience not winning left-handed. I mean, this is the first time he's dropped back to Group 3 level since he started racing in pattern races, and he hacked up back then when he beat, I want to say Jumbie back then, but it's just not that straightforward, is it? Sometimes in horse races, it isn't always the case that the absolute best horse wins, but some good cases made in there for some alternatives at reasonable prices. Right, gentlemen, that is all of the ITV races covered. I'm going to come back to you first, Matty, in case you've got anything from anywhere else.
Nothing concrete, no.
Fine with me. And people can check out your column for final selections for Saturday anyway, as they can for Andrew. But Andrew, you've been giving the viewers some phenomenal bets in the anywhere else section. So can you keep that up?
No, not today. I've only had a cursory glance. I was looking. I love Lingfield on the turf, particularly when there's lots of straight track races as there are on Saturday night. So I was sort of going through that, trying to find who's likely to get the rail, but I haven't come to any concrete conclusions yet. So, like with Matty, keep an eye on my column on Saturday on the GG.CO.UK website.
Awesome. The viewers will appreciate that as much as they do when you give a selection, because you can't just fancy something for the sake of it, can you? However, speaking of fancying something, nap time. Matty, back to you. What is your best bet for the ITV races that we've covered this week?
I think I'll go with Shagraan in the 223 Haydock. He can make up into a good listed or group sprinter this season.
Lovely. And you've got that comfort blanket that Andrew fancies the horse too. So nicely done there. Andrew, your nap for this week, please.
210 Chester, Never So Brave. Drawn much better than he was when he was pulled out from this meeting earlier this month.
Awesome. So there we go, boys. That's the naps for this week. We've covered all the 7 races. Thank you again for both your time, Andrew and Matty, for putting in the effort to do this. Thank you at home for watching the show. Just a reminder of that Betano new account offer. Links will be in the description for the full terms and conditions, but bets between £10 and £40. Once that bet's been settled, you'll get the same amount back in free bets. As I say, link in the description. Thank you guys for your support for watching, and we will catch you all again next week.